Assalamu alaikum, peace be on all. So in this video I would like to make a review of The Last of Us Part 2. Where do I even begin with this predicament of a story? So unlike some of the reviews that I've watched online, I would like to tackle my review from an Islamic lens, as this is my epistemic foundation, rather than a gamer's and a fan's shallow point of view of The Last of Us franchise, since I'd rather delve into a more profound, in-depth analysis of what's being propagated in this video game. Obviously, everyone has already heard that the story was not up to par. Joel got bludgeoned with a golf club right off the bat without any proper justification by Abby, who is a follower of her own ego, self, psyche, as much as she may not seem to be like that from the surface. So here's what's going down. You have factions, just like The Last of Us Part 1, which consisted of hunters and fireflies. But in Part 2, you're dealing with Jackson County, Joel's and Ellie's people, Scars, aka Seraphites, and the Washington Liberation Front, aka Wolves. Just like the Fireflies in the first game had a slogan, which was, "When you're lost in the darkness, look for a light." The Wolves and the Scars also have their own mantra. The Wolves say to each other, "May your survival be long, may your death be swift." The Scars pray before engaging in combat to their prophet, "May she guide me through the storm. May she keep me calm." Pretty much in the first game, the Fireflies had an objective purpose, and they sounded more religious, like the Seraphites, rather than secular, like the Wolves, who are survivalists, like the Hunters and the people of Jackson County. The Hunters in the first game, they were just survivalists. They'll survive by any means necessary. Essentially, this is the whole objective and instinctual inclination of whoever remains alive in this chaotic environment, filled with monsters. But what the gamers and the fans failed to encapsulate in their own shallow, selfish reviews was the fact that The Last of Us is a story revolving around an apocalyptic world, which includes in its habitat shamblers of both men and monsters. Since humanity is in disarray and shambles. Now, obviously, one might state that this is all self-evident, that it's zombie land, the end of the world, The Last of Us. What does it have to do with giving the fans what they deserve? Here is my response. You're dealing with sophisticated writers, Neil Druckmann and Hallie Gross. Now, what do I mean by sophisticated writers? First of all, they want to push a secular, liberal, postmodernist agenda. And what better way to do it than to propagate it on a new video game that is coming out for new gen consoles, PS4, PS5, played mainly by children and young adults. Even though it's a teen and plus, do not expect people to follow the parents' guides. It's written that way intentionally. The game is extremely intense, frightening, disturbing, and upsetting. And the ending can be sad to most audience. The story deals with mature themes, including animal deaths, torture, graphics, graphic violence, and cult activity, and may be disturbing only for ages 18 and plus. They did that on purpose to push their secular, liberal narrative based on individualism, subjectivism, egocentrism, and egoism. You have Joel, who seems like an old-fashioned type of man, but with a more liberal understanding since he loves Ellie, but manages to stick by his fundamentals and would save Ellie's life from the fireflies, even if he had to do it all over again. You have Ellie, who picks up on some of her ethical framework from Joel, even though she's more on the modernist side. She's a neo-atheist. You have Abby, who has zero foundation, a heat-of-the-moment type of chick, following her own moral compass, just like Ellie, a neo-atheist, but without any grounding. If she feels like doing something that may be against her posse, she won't let anyone get in her way. This is what I mean by ego worship. If you stand for nothing and follow the temptations of your own ego, there is no justification in the actions that you choose to make. Just like it's havoc in this apocalyptic world, it's chaotic within the people's self. They have not disciplined their soul by killing their ego to be able to discern and ascertain knowledge in heat of the moment type of situations. They have the capacity to analyze events right off the bat. Abby was saved by Joel from the infected, and Tommy, who is Joel's brother, offered to help her entire crew. But she let her ego get the best. She let her ego get the best out of her, and it consumed her vision. After all, a wise person asks questions first, and perhaps shoots later. But it's a thuggish type of mentality to act before understanding. Joel was justified in his actions to save Ellie's life, as it's not certain that this cure will save humanity. It's also not definite that Ellie is the only immune and that Abby's father is the only doctor who can conduct such procedure. Now, Abby's father never gave a response. If he would have done the same if it was his daughter in Ellie's shoes. All in all, when the world is in shambles, there will be very few who are as just as Joel and Tommy, as the shamblers outside also dwell inside of the infected. The good depart early. They do not belong in such world, and the evil remain in such misery until they change their ways of thinking. Hence, when you believe in absurdities, atrocities arise. This is the reason Ellie's life, along with Abby's, led to a highly unpleasant and distasteful ending. Now, if you haven't noticed, the factions in this apocalypse don't last for long, as their ideology, which is their metaphysics, is not grounded in anything truthful. No epistemic foundation, no epistemic justification. Thus, the fireflies no longer exist. And by the time you finish part 2, the wolves and the scars take each other out. Even the rattlers, a slave-owned bandit gang, are easily infiltrated by Ellie. That being said, when the ideology is not true, it fades away along with its people. The Seraphites' scars, in my opinion, seem to be depicting religion and cultural norms in a bad light, mainly to disparage religions such as Islam, as they focus on a prophet and a young girl who would be assigned as a wife instead of a soldier against her will. This is just postmodernism or a reformist propaganda, especially since Liv, formerly known as Lily, is a transgender who believes in the prophet but cannot follow traditions. This is my assessment of The Last of Us Part 2, and hopefully people understand the nuance and reflect and ponder. Peace out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.